Okay, first things first, go ahead and introduce yourself who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simi Liadi. I am an R&B and alt soul artist from the East Coast, the DMV. And I'm excited to be here today to talk a little bit about myself, my artistry, and how that intersects with women's history.
And kind of insane because I'm from the DMV also, but
Oh my gosh, hey girl. Where are you from in the DMV?
yeah, so I'm from Maryland, but I grew up in when I was younger in Arlington, Virginia. So yeah.
Okay, period. Yeah, I'm from Maryland too. I'm
Yay.
like I'm in the suburb area, so I'm in like Columbia kind of area. But I'm in DC a lot, and I went to school towards Baltimore. So,
Okay, cool. Oh my God. Well, I guess we can talk about, of course, your background first. Being from the DMV, how does that kind of like, I guess, translate into your music? Like, do you, I guess, kind of like show some representation like throughout lyrics or maybe in like music videos and stuff like that?
so I wouldn't say like it's something that I like plaster. Like I don't have like a Maryland flag in my in my music videos and stuff, but I've never shied away from representing where I'm from, and I feel like if you meet me and get to know me, it's very clear that I'm a DMV girl, and I have been for a very long time. I mean, I moved around a lot when I was younger, but we set up camp in the DMV when I was 5 years old actually, and we've never left since. I mean, a lot of the people that help me do everything that I do with music, from people who are helping me with video and editing and all these things, a lot of these people are from the DMV. So while I might not like have a Maryland flag, in my video or stuff like that, the people that I work with are where my representation of my city come from, because I really do work with a lot of people that come from where I'm from out here.
And when it comes to like music, what type of music do you create? I know you mentioned before R&B, but if you want to
Mhm.
maybe get into depth about the genre.
Yes. So I do R&B and alt soul, which is basically a subset of Afro beats. If you just kind of think of alternative Afro beats, some good examples that are mainstream right now are like Thames, Odile. If you're familiar with like Odunsi, that kind of vibe is kind of what I like to lean into. And then of course R&B. I have a gospel upbringing, so that's where the beginning roots of my R&B influence came from. And then as I got older, I started getting into neo R&B, like SZA, Frank Ocean, Her, Summer Walker, and I think that's where a lot of my R&B influence grew into what music I make today, along with my Afro and alt soul influence. So that's basically a quick description of the music that I make.
And what are some challenges you had to face, being an artist?
Well, there's quite a few, it ranges from all different types of things. I think when I first started, it was trying to balance making music and like still being in school. I was a college student when I started, and it was a difficult balance for me. But I mean, as time went on, rather, I think things have just come up about just identity, understanding who I am. I think that my music journey is often a direct reflection of my personal life journey. So the lessons that I'm learning in music, I'm also learning them in my personal life and vice versa. So they've always been in conjunction with one another. And I feel like with all the life lessons that I've learned, all the challenges that I'm having in life are also challenges that I'm having with music when it comes to identity, who I really am, standing up for myself, being confident, being sure, um, putting more faith in myself and my skills and my decision making, finding community. Like all of these things are things that I've dealt with in my personal life that are a direct reflection of what I also go through in my music journey.
And do you, I guess, how can I articulate this? Do you, of course, combine what you go through into your music as well? Like, do you have songs that are very, I guess, like, I don't know if emotional is the word, but like, kind of like that?
Connected to my story, yeah, for sure. I think all of the music that I make, or almost all, let me say, are usually direct reflections of things that I'm going through. And if they're not direct, it's just kind of like storytelling things that I like to tell. But one of my more popular songs, Sunset, I wrote that song when I was going through a breakup. And, that is very emotionally charged and a direct reflection. Like it was literally essentially a diary entry, but in a song form of what I was feeling and going through at that time. No Exchange is another popular one of mine. And then even my new single, Art of Conversation, I wrote that out of frustration that I was having within the dating pool. So that's where those songs come from. So I think, well, yeah, most of my music comes from these direct feelings that I have that I'm like, okay, let me put these feelings, these emotions somewhere, and it ends up being in the music.
And of course, talking about your latest single,
Mhm.
Art of Conversation. What was the
Mhm.
process behind that? The inspiration.
Yeah, so it came from a conversation I was having with a friend. I was expressing how annoyed I was with the dating scene and like how specifically that it feels so hard to have an engaging conversation with people. I feel like it's like nobody knows how to have a conversation anymore. And as I was talking about it to my friend, he was like, "You should write a song about this." And I was like, "You know what? You're right." So that's exactly what happened, and that's where Art of Conversation came from. I literally was just expressing how I felt about what it really means to have a conversation and how I'm just kind of over these very surface level, lackluster, unengaging conversations that I've been having recently when it comes to dating. So,
And what do you enjoy the most about being an artist, and what do you not enjoy the most?
I think what I enjoy the most about being an artist, or let me say one of the more rewarding things that comes from being an artist, is being able to see people be touched by my music. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a super huge artist, but the fact that there's people in this life that can come to me and be like, "Hey, like I listened to this song and helped me get through this hard time," or "Hey, I listened to this song and it really, really moved me," or "It made me feel so good," or "It became the soundtrack for this," or "It became my favorite song in this season." I think just my music being a fabric of somebody's time or being a part of somebody's like quilt almost like I take up a part of your life that's like significant or like I'm a part of some part of your everyday life or whatever it is. I think that that's the most rewarding because I'm putting this music out and once it's out it's for the world, it's not mine anymore. um and so knowing that there's impact and that there are people that are listening that like, oh yeah, like Simi was my top artist for this year. Like the fact that that even happens to me is insane. So just knowing that I'm a part of somebody's life in that way just because of the art that I've created, I think is the most fulfilling aspect. For what I don't enjoy, right now as an independent artist there's just a lot of things that I have to do by myself, and I mean I'm thankful that I have people around me that are willing to help, but it's like I don't necessarily have like the capital to do all the things that I want to do right now, and I'm still trying to juggle like my music versus my real life. Like it's not fully encapsulated in that yet, and I it can be really difficult to balance. And it's a price that I'm willing to pay because I know that this is what I want to do, but it definitely can be really hard and really frustrating because I'll have a lot of ideas, I'll have a lot of things that I want to do, but I don't have, the capital, I don't have the money, I don't necessarily have the full team to be able to execute all the things that I want to do.
And do you think maybe somewhere down the line for the music industry, do you think maybe some things will change for independent artists? Like maybe some things becoming accessible, or I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I understand. And I mean, I think that's kind of already happening now. I think people are understanding that there is a need for support for independent artists. I think that's where came like the popularization of like publishing deals, where it's like you're not necessarily signed to a label, but you are, they're giving you money to for these couple of releases or for this amount of time working with them, which I think is very, very helpful and beneficial for independent artists who is like, I'm not looking to be signed just yet, but if a label believes in me enough to at least throw me a couple bands so I can get this going, that's great too. So I think people are already recognizing that there needs to be support and community for independent artists, and there's already great things happening in that world that are helping with that. I think if anything, it's just more awareness of those things because we only know what we know. So I'm sure that there's a lot of things out there that are like, hey, we'll give these independent artists a grant, if they apply, but it's like, if I don't even know that I'm supposed to be applying to this, I don't know where I can reap the benefits of that. You know what I mean? So I think it'll just be more awareness about the resources that are available for people who are already thinking about the independent artist.
And I agree. And not too long ago, I was also speaking to an artist about he was also an independent artist, and I was speaking to him, and I had also asked him like like if anything is gonna change, and I agree with the whole like publishing thing as well. But then like in the back of my mind, I'm also like I don't know. It's just like I'm thinking like also like the treatment of independent artists, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, the music industry, it's a big monster, and it doesn't necessarily mean that everything about it is bad, but of course, there's a lot of not a lot of things in it that can set artists up for failure if they're not paying attention. And I mean, it's a lot better now than it was in the past. Like, people are a lot more aware of those things and it's not as easy to sign somebody's life away now than it was a decade ago or 2 decades ago. But I think
Is there, I guess, a woman figure in your life that you are inspired by? Like, this could be somebody personal to you, or, maybe somebody you learned about, like, in class or
Mhm.
outside of class, too.
It's tricky because I feel like there's so many women that have impacted who I am as a person and as an artist. I mean, like one of the first artists that I listened to that made me think like, wow, I could probably sing was Asha. She's a neo. Well, I don't know if she would be considered neo soul. She's a soul artist from Nigeria, and her music was kind of my first introduction into music that wasn't gospel, which is what I was listening to a lot when I was younger. But getting that, hearing her voice and hearing her music and also hearing what she was talking about, it was so like monumental for me. And I was like, oh, maybe I could sing a little bit. Like maybe this is something that I could do. And I mean, it was from there that all the pieces fitted together to get me to who I am right now. But there's so many women that I love listening to. Artists, Thames, SZA, her was a large part of when I started listening to music. And then even like my mom, she's very, very hardworking. She's a businesswoman. She's fashionable. She's somebody that like I look at her and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a woman. Like there's aspects of my mom that as I get older, or who I am right now, that I want to make sure I envelope and take for myself. So I think that women, I don't know if I could pinpoint one woman because women make the fabric of who I am. Like my friends, my family, the artists that I listen to. And it's not that I only listen to artists that are women or I only have friends that are women, but it's just that like when I think about the types of people and the groups of people who have impacted my life the most, more often than not, that they're a woman. So
And is there some things people should be educated about, maybe other than like Women's History Month, maybe should be educated about like women in general, say like, body issues that we face or, like other societal issues that we also face as well.
mhm. Honestly, I think that a lot of people would understand women more if they just talk to them, and not only talk to them for the sake of like talking back, but like to speaking to them to really understand their perspective. I think a lot of, I mean, there's so many issues. Misogyny is rampant, of course, and with the rise of red pill content and incel culture, it's definitely a bit of a dangerous time for women. But I feel like if people stopped thinking they knew and just asking and really taking the time to understand perspective, I think a lot of people would understand women and the plight of our women a lot more. um no two women are the same, right? And you can, even women within our own gender, have a lot of different conflicts, have a lot of different perspectives. But I think that if we just didn't sensationalize or dehumanize, because sensationalizing and dehumanizing is coming from the same thing. You don't see me as human, so you treat me horribly, or you don't see me as human, so you treat me as this like prized object that is like, you marvel at, but you don't really see me as a human person that has the same emotions and feelings that you may. And none of those perspectives are good because you're not humanizing me. And I think that again, like if people took the time to speak, but also to really listen to women and listen to their stories and really have empathy, ask questions, gain understanding, read books, read things from our perspective, we could have a lot more beneficial and productive conversations. Because where we're at now, it's like we can't even get you to the point of asking me a question that makes it seem like you're talking to a human person or a real person, rather than like you're just asking me this thing to like actually, I don't know, like it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of humanity. So I feel like if more people regarded us as human and just spoke to us and listened to us in that way, we'd be able to get a lot farther.
And what type of impact do you want to leave when it comes to your, women audience, like when it comes to your music or your content?
I just want to be seen as a woman who really, really loves what they do and takes it really, really seriously and gets rewarded for that. I think that's really what it comes down to for me. I want to do really great stuff and really cool stuff and really amazing stuff and be recognized for that. And recognized doesn't mean that I'm winning, 5 Grammys and all that stuff, but that like people when they see me or they hear my name or they think of me, they're like, oh yeah, that's somebody, she don't play about her art. Or like, she's dedicated to her work and she's fun and she's full of life, but she really, really like makes amazing stuff and is serious about that. I think that's the impact and the effect that I want to have. And just also that like as you listen to my music, they're like, wow, this is somebody who really gets it. Cause I mean, I think about like when I listened to SZA for the first time, or I think about the album Control, and I'm like, wow, like this is somebody who gets it. Like they just get it. And I really, really want that impact with my music too. Like I want people to listen to my music and be like, wow, like she really just gets me. Like I'm listening to this and this just it hit all the right heartstrings. It spoke words that I couldn't formulate myself. That's what I want my impact to be.
And is there anything, people should know about you?
What should people know about me? Ooh, that's a really good question, actually. Hmm, I'm really funny, guys. No, but I think I have a very lively personality, and but more than that, I really like to think. I feel like sometimes, like if you meet me in person, I'm very extroverted. I'm very, funny. I take it like everything's jokes, everything's fun, but I'm also somebody who thinks a lot, and I love sharing what I think. So ask me because I really do love to talk about things that I'm thinking about and have discussions about them, not just me like just talking at you, but like talking with you and like having a conversation about certain things. Like for me, everything is that deep and I'm very serious about that. And so I want people to know that like there's a lot of thought that goes behind a lot of things that I do. Even when I'm being funny and when I'm being flippant and all that stuff, it's like there's still thought behind my humor too. So I just want everybody to know that like, yeah, like there's a thought daughter here that's thinking a lot about her life and her perspective and her environment and other people's lives and perspectives and environments.
And hmm, what does, what does women empowerment mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's just because we could sit here and say, oh, women supporting women, right? But it's a little bit more than that. It's understanding yourself and having the confidence to speak on that, and then also recognizing where like supporting women where it matters most, really. And I think that women empowerment is like speaking up for those who cannot speak for themselves. It is having discussions, really getting to understand why women are the way that they are and why we've been conditioned the way that we are, and like getting an understanding, and then not being afraid to speak up on that and like defend our honor, basically. You know, as women, like, although no two women are the same, when you live in, societies, or when you live in certain cultures, we are experiencing a lot similar things. And like just having space to talk about those things and being a safe space where people can say like, damn, I hate this part about womanhood and I love this part about womanhood, and giving them the space to speak about these things and understand them even more and dig deeper, and having that community. I think that is the true women empowerment, because community is what gives you power. When you feel like there's people behind you that will ride for you, you'll feel confident to speak up for yourself. You'll feel confident to defend yourself. You'll feel confident to speak out against things when you know that there's people behind you that will come at your, defense. So community is really what I think women empowerment is.
I completely agree because I was just kind of thinking about this the other day where it's like there's been this kind of like shift when it comes to, speaking about womanhood in like certain spaces where back then it was like, growing up, I saw a lot of like, content, especially on YouTube, pushing on about like how to be a girl boss, how to
Yeah,
get your own, how to be independent. But I
yeah,
guess now social media, there's more so of like, I don't know, like trad wives, being traditional, being more
yeah,
conservative, being
yeah.
more modest as a woman. And like I kind of wonder like what made that shift happen. I don't know if maybe because we're in a recession right now and the
Yeah, I
economy's
mean,
different, but
the crazy thing about society and culture is that it swings left and right. So you'll go from, hyper independence to trad wife culture, and it's been like that since the dawn of time. Like people will go swing one way really, really hard, and then they'll swing the other way really, really hard again. And that's why I feel it. But one thing I feel like that's always stayed consistent is like, because if you even if you look in history, um, the patriarchy has always tried to stop women from being in community with one another and talking to each other about the things that they're going through. Because when you feel like you have power within somebody else, you have more power within yourself. And so that's why I'm like, it's more important now than ever to not, like, we have to talk to each other. We have to really discuss like what's really going on, and make sure that people understand why we fought for the things that we fought for up until this point and what that means for our future. But it's true. I mean, we've swung, we were really hard one way, and now we've swung culturally into a completely opposite direction. But that's where being informed and being around people who will hold you accountable and really like ask you to, really think about, because nothing exists in a vacuum. Like, okay, you want to be a trad wife, make sure you interrogate why, and make sure you understand that if you're doing this, like, are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing this because you feel like you've been told that this is what you need to be doing as a woman, and it's stuff like that. Like, you just, that's why, again, community is important. You have people who will keep you accountable. You have people who will, um you know it's a checks and balances type of thing, but also knowing that, like, okay, support is here. You have a voice here with us to express yourself, and we can figure this out together.
thank you actually also for explaining that a little bit more because I was just kind of just wondering, but it
Yeah.
completely makes sense, yeah. But I know we're running out of time on the Zoom, but I guess for our last question, do you have anything else to add for the interview, or maybe some advice for young Black girls who want to go into R&B or like explore
Mhm.
Afro beats,
Mhm.
or who are independent artists themselves too?
Yeah, I mean, girl, from one indie artist to another, like, you just have to keep going. Like, I always say that, like, something's got to give. And I know it's such generic advice, it's such cliche advice, but it's literally like the people who are most successful aren't always the people who are the best. It's just the people who stay the most consistent. And consistency doesn't necessarily mean you're showing up the same way every day, but you're showing up. So, like, for me, I think about it as like, if I'm gonna be putting in all this work, something is going to give. Like, I'm leaving here with something. And I think that's how you kind of have to think about it. It's going to get very hard. It's going to get very difficult. But it's like, you either do it till it happens, or you stop before it does. And you have to be the one to make that choice. And for me, like I said, like, I mean, I've had multiple breaks within my music career, and I'm not even, all that big yet, but they're necessary. But they were pauses. They weren't, I didn't stop and quit. I just paused, because I know in my heart of hearts this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. So I'm gonna keep doing it till it happens, because it doesn't have a choice. Like, I've said that now. And it really is, again, like, the people who are the most successful are usually the most consistent. So that would be my advice. Like, I know everybody says keep going, but it really is just like, if you got to pause, but you got to come back. If this is your dream, you have to fight for it every single day. So,
Well, thank you so much again for
of
joining
course.
me and talking, of course, about not only about your career, but other things as well. And yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure. And yeah, I'm glad I got to chat to you guys a little bit about myself.
Well, again, thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you as well. Have a great day.